Oh yeah, that's way more solid. Welcome back to Equipped to Endure. I'm Rusty. Today we are continuing our Ultimate Home Security series. Now remember, our stated objective at the very beginning of our series was to slow down baddies, to deter baddies, and then to alert us to the presence of baddies. We cannot fortify our home enough to keep out everybody. If a state actor, if a SWAT team is trying to get in, they're gonna get in. But an average bad guy with a hammer who's maybe armed with something else, we should be able to slow them down for a significant amount of time so we can prepare a defense. So with all that said, at the home entry point, remember we started with our Schlag deadbolt. Then we also did the jamb shield to strengthen the jamb. We did the hinge shield. And then recognizing that this window was a weak point, the side light that somebody could break through, reach in and undo this, that's why we put in the door barricade, which was the HavenLock. Now, the final piece, even though this is tempered glass and this is going to be fairly hard to get through, this is still a weak point. So we are going to install security film to fortify this weak point. We didn't want to just take the manufacturer's word for it. You can go find this on Amazon and order it. So we decided to put together a test to see just how strong this stuff was. So if you come with me outside, we're going to go ahead and do that test. So as you can see, I wrote none here. That means that this glass pane has no film on it and it is not tempered. This is standard 1/8 inch glass that you will get on a front or back window or side or upstairs or anything besides an entry. So this is just naked glass, 1/8 inch thick. All right, so here's the 3 ways we're gonna test it. We're gonna drop a golf ball from eye height, see if that does anything. Then we're gonna drop our pry tool. This is my painter's tool that I can hold at eye height and drop it to with that steel pommel first. And then we'll drop the hammer if it survives that. But then for the final test, we're actually gonna hold this hammer and try to bust through. Now my guess is this is not tempered glass. There's no film on it. I don't think we're even gonna get to that point. Now, I am no window expert. I just know what the guys at the window store told me, which is that tempered glass, which you'll normally have in your side lights by the front door and on the back, is 4 to 5 times stronger than non-tempered glass, which is what this is. So we're comparing apples to apples. We got 3 12-inch by 12-inch panels of 1/8 inch non-tempered glass, and purely what we're doing is comparing them against each other with the film to see how much stronger it makes it. 1, 2. Woo! 1, 2, 3. Wow! You gotta be kidding me. Okay, so that's a shocker to me. This glass is only 1/8 inch thick and it's not tempered. So that right there tells me that somebody's got to be pretty determined and they're going to hurt something if they try to punch through or elbow it like you see in the movies with the candy glass, unless you cover it up or something. But yeah, that was dropped from eye height. Now we're actually going to crack it and see what happens. I'm a little worried about flying shards, but this is all for you so you don't have to do it, okay? Okay, 1, 2. Okay. All right, so it made it all the way through to the strike, and I didn't actually put a lot into that. I just dropped it as you saw. Okay, let's set up the next one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what we expected. 1, 2, 3. What we expected. 1, 2, 3. Oh-ho! So that is different. The last one did not shatter, but the film is doing its job. If you look, it has held the glass together. Now that's interesting that it cracked when the non-filmed version didn't crack with the drop, but let's see how it does with the hammer. All right. I'm gonna try to swing at the same speed that I did the last one. So immediately, that's the big difference. Yeah, this is our last panel. This has the security film on both the front and the back. So we're gonna do the same test, the golf ball, the pry bar, or the paint tool, and then the hammer drop. 1, 2, 3. All right, as expected, less balance, that was interesting. 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we definitely got a crack. Not as bad as this one, but still, without any film on it, it did not crack. But again, that might have been because of the flex. Okay, so now let's give it some wax. Oh yeah, that's way more solid. Okay, I'm gonna really go on it. Okay, so the only reason that did that is because the trim gave. If we pull this piece out, it's still holding together. There's where the film split, you can see that, but that is still sandwiched together and holding the glass. So we were surprised by a couple of those results with the testing. For one, that non-tempered glass withstanding a drop from a hammer, that was pretty surprising. And the only weak point was actually the trim, that mini frame that we set up. So the trim on this window, and I believe this is hardwood as well as the jamb and the framing of it, there are brads all the way around it, several of them. There's going to be caulking and I imagine wood glue, so that's going to be much stronger compared to the test frame that we use. So that's holding that window in. Now the glass, this is tempered, and I mentioned earlier that at least the window store told me that tempered glass is 4 to 5 times stronger than non-tempered glass. So already this is going to be fairly hard to get through. You know, granted, if you have a hammer or gun, you can punch through it. So we're going to go ahead and put the film on. Now, I'm no expert installer, but I wanted to show you the DIY instructions. I've done it on, 3 times now with those panels. So I can show you what I've learned, and we're going to go ahead and install a segment right here so you can see what the process looks like. Now, what I'm going to do, it's very much like cutting Christmas paper when you're wrapping boxes. It comes in a roll, which will show you. You just cut out the right size. They tell you to put it about 1 inch wider on every side, because after you install it, you're going to use a piece to cut right to the edge to make sure that you have excess and that you have full coverage. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that right now. All right, so this is what this stuff looks like. Almost like a big plastic wrap that you put in your kitchen or tin foil. It just comes on this roll in here. Now this was I think this was a 25-foot roll. I got this much so that I could do all of my major portal windows. Now, very much like I mentioned, cutting out paper for Christmas presents. It's kind of frustrating because, it may not be wide enough, and then you got to use a long length of it, which is what we're going to have to do right now. But again, pretty easy. So this window is 9 inches wide by 40 inches tall, and I need 1 inch margin or excess on every side. So I'm going to go 11 inches by 42 in order to accommodate that. In the box, they include a squeegee tool. This is to help press out the liquid, what you're going to see, the soap mixture that we put in there, as well as a little retractable knife to cut this with. So let's go ahead and measure out the piece that we need and then get cutting. Okay, if you're curious too on the thickness, this is the 8mm variety. I'm not quite sure what to compare it to. Maybe kind of like, no, it's a little thicker than that. Do you remember those clear plastic sheets back when they had overheads in elementary school that the teachers would write on with their little dry erase markers? Anyway, it's kind of similar to that, but it's a clear film, and it has 2 layers to it. One is the backing, and then the actual film side has the adhesive on the back. So when I cut these pieces out for the test panels that we did, I learned that this stuff is pretty slick, so the straight edge likes to move around, so I'm going to try to make sure I don't move around too much here. All right. Okay, that's all there is to it. So this is our piece. One thing that we don't want to do is when we pull the backing off of this, we don't want to expose that adhesive and be getting fingerprints on it and be introducing contaminants or debris or anything like that to get those bubbles in the film. So what they recommend is taking 2 pieces of duct tape. Let me get this piece of duct tape. 2 pieces of masking tape. Okay, so we're gonna take this and give it a good press on one side. And then you go from the other side and you do the same thing but offset them. Obviously if the masking tape is sticking to itself, that's not going to be very productive. So I just offset them a little bit like that. And press it in, give it a good firm press. And now when we pull these guys apart, it should peel apart those two layers, which it is. Do you see how it's doing that? To prep the surface that you're going to be applying the film to, you just need to clean it thoroughly. Now they recommend a soap water solution. Again, if you buy the stuff, it tells you, but it's essentially 8 to 10 drops of soap and 16 ounces of water in a spray bottle. So I already thoroughly cleaned this, but we need to wet it and the material again. Now this is something that I was unfamiliar with because I've never done this before. But when you get it wet and you get this wet, that's what you need for a good install to make sure that you don't get air pockets, because when it's wet, the film does not stick or adhere as much to the glass, and that liquid in there is what enables you to easily push out any bubbles. So I'm gonna wet this, I'm gonna peel apart the film from the backing, and then I'm gonna spray the actual adhesive side of the film. Then we're gonna apply it and squeegee it on, and that's where we'll take it from. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a liberal amount of spray on here. As we pull this apart with the masking tape, you can see the backing peel away gracefully from the adhesive side of the film. And ideally that film is clean right from the factory. So we're gonna pull this all off. And then remember that we gotta apply spray to it liberally to keep it from sticking immediately to the window. And it allows us to push out any air bubbles. So we got this wet. On a side note, the reason that I got the 8 mil instead of thicker, you can go all the way up to like 21, 23 mil, something like that, which is rated for hurricane. But when you get thicker than this, you have to cut an exact size of the window and put it there because it doesn't have the same flex. So that is the reason I went with this. So let's put it right where we need it. And then we're going to push it on. Okay. So we've got this on. You can see the liquid moving around underneath the film. What we do is take the provided squeegee. You start at the middle, and I'm just going to push down to start. And keep that there. And that's going to start sticking the film to the window. So you work from the center out. Now I want gravity to be on my side, so I'm going to do this. All right. We've got the piece cut to size. Now we're just going to try to squeeze as much of that excess out of there with the squeegee they provided as possible. So that's it. You just need to let this sit. The manufacturer says 3 days in order for it to get that moisture out of there and cure up. So we're going to do the other side of this, obviously not on the video, just wanted to show you installing one. Again, don't take my example for how to do it right. Go ahead and check out the manufacturer. They have those resources. So now we've got a fortified entry. We've got the deadbolt. We have the jamb shield, the hinge shield, the longer screws, the barricade, and the security window film. So I am feeling confident that this will help us achieve our objective of slowing down, deterring, and baddies, and then alerting us to their presence and giving us time to mount a defense. So hope you enjoyed the video, especially the testing portion of it. It's always fun to smash glass, right? So we are going to keep going with our Ultimate Home Security series later. We're going to be looking at alarm systems and other components, but we are done with the portal fortification things. And I hope, as many of you had questions about these side lights, that we have addressed them. The barricade and the window film are two things that will prevent people from being able to easily smash the window, get in, unlock, and allow themselves to come in. So, hope you enjoyed yourself, and until next time, in OMNIA PARATUS.